Hello, Josh. How are you today?
Well, hello. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Today, our topic, we are going gloves off after dark on identity. I feel like it's a great topic because identity has so much to do with how we live our lives, what kind of relationships that we're in. And, there are definitely people out there, and I've been encountering a lot of them recently, who really stay in relationships. And I often wonder why they stay in relationships that are dead, because you would almost think that people stay in dead relationships because they love the other person so much. But what I'm realizing is, I think people stay in dead relationships because their identity is actually attached to that relationship.
Hmm?
I mean, and I thought about my own relationship before I left it. I was married for, almost 25 years. And I honestly wanted to leave long time before, but I felt very codependent in that relationship because number one, I watched a very codependent relationship in my parents. So I think we're just wired to repeat that stuff when we don't know any better. Number one. And then two, I just didn't want to give up that identity of this, oh, I married my college sweetheart and all of these kind of things, and I'm a committed wife, blah, blah, blah. So, have you ever experienced something like that?
Well, yeah. On top of being fiercely codependent with abandonment issues, the other part for me was that I had so many secrets. I mean, it was not just not knowing who I was or being willing to admit to who I was. It was all of the secrets. So those relationships, it wasn't just being dependent. It was also that they were the bearers of my secrets. And then I knew how awful of a human being I was. And so to think about that person leaving when in my mind I'm never going to do better,
Mm.
even while knowing, by the way, I settled in those relationships, I compromised what I really wanted. But then I was in that relationship, and because there was the secrets, because they knew about my alternative lifestyles, whether they were participating in them or not, they knew my drug use, the crimes I was doing, all those secrets. That became my prison. And
Yeah.
so whether I knew my identity or not, which I didn't, I was fearful of people knowing my identity. And so therefore, this person loved me for this whatever I was, demon.
Mm.
So now I'm going to stay, and I need to stay. And if you try to leave, then I'm not going to let you leave because I'm going to love bomb you, or I'm going to do what it takes to win you back. But then when I get you back, I want you to leave again.
Oh, so the whole runner chaser dynamic.
What? Yeah, isn't that part of a codependent cycle?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was me. That was me 100%.
Yeah. Oh, I know. I've been involved in that as well. And it's so interesting. So you said something very interesting. So you felt maybe safe in that relationship just because they knew parts of who you really were.
They love my monster.
They loved your monster.
Or
Oh
in my
my,
brain, I thought that.
yeah. Yeah. But what was it really? Did they really love your monster or what? You got to wonder if they, or did they pretend to because it was a codependent relationship?
Well, let me ask you the question. Let me repeat a question back to you, and maybe that will give the answer.
Okay.
Have you ever been in a situation with somebody that's hurting you, and yet you can go to anyone in the world to get help from? But in your mind, that person that hurt you is the only one that can fix you or love you back to health.
Mm, yeah.
So not only have I had that own experience with the abuse that's happened to me, but the abuse I believe, and I can't speak for the other people, but I would believe there's an element of the opposite of that. And then also there's a sense of, I think at some point, the devil we know is better than the devil we don't know.
Oh, that is 100% true. And I think that kind of just tying that back to, part of how we started, a lot of people are really more comfortable with something that they know, even though it's lonely, even though they may have no intimacy in the relationship, even if they know it's not right, even if they're settling. Any of those things could be true. But it's easier to deal with what you know than the devil that you don't.
And at certain point, I think that there's like the need. Okay, I hated my father, and this is in the realm of relationships still.
Mm-hmm.
Hated his guts,
Mm-hmm.
but he was the only approval I ever wanted.
Oh, I can relate to that.
Childhood carries over into all the other relationships, and I can even look at my professional relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think there's something to that saying, and even though I'm sure that people could poke holes in this, but how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if I show up codependent and narcissistic or whatever else in a romantic relationship, I'm probably going to be the same way with business and other relationships, or even worse, those other areas will serve as my mask to hide what I'm really doing over here because I've
Oh,
lived
yeah,
that life too. Again, that's still an identity issue though, because
exactly.
you're this is why for me authentic storytelling matters. Because for me separating my business life, okay, because I had DID, multiple personality disorder is what it used to be called.
Mm-hmm.
Identity was a massive issue for me. And because of the switching and the disassociating and all these other things, like I got to this place of like I just want to be Joshua. Like that's all I want to be is Joshua. Like whatever that looks like, I just want to get to that place, but I never was.
Yeah.
And but like the work for me, so like I don't, it's funny because I get to act and do things like that, but I only want to play a character that is already inside of me because I don't want to disassociate anymore. I don't want to be anything that's not me. I want to stay me all the time. And so the reason why I like authentic storytelling is because I found a way to make that business, but my personal life is my business and my business is my personal life. I don't want to have to switch gears. I just want to be able to be in my identity all the time. Whether you like it or not, that's okay. But I need to be me for me across the board, period.
Well, I can completely relate to that. So even though, here's my theory, even though you had DID or have it, I should say, because I don't think it really goes away,
I
but
just quit disassociating. It's been 2 years.
okay.
So thank
Okay.
God.
Right. So, but I think other people also have versions of that that may not be as extreme. And I can say that, I don't know, and I'm not a psychiatrist, so I'm not going to go into the classifications of things. But what I can say is that I know this is a diagnosis for you, and maybe it was more extreme. But in my life, I also experienced similar versions of that, meaning I had my persona as a surgeon, then I had my persona as a wife, then I had my persona as a mother, then I had my persona as a friend. I had different personas, but none of them were the same people. So I have just recently, I'm talking just recently, feeling like my business, my social, my relationships, dating, I'm the same person in all of those aspects of my life. And I would say this just happened somewhat recently. So I did feel like I had multiple personalities. I hated putting on the white coat because I immediately dropped into some disingenuous, inauthentic version of me.
I get it. It's like me going into performer mode.
Yeah.
And that's a high. And I would, to be honest with you, for most of my life, I would have rather been in performer mode because that was the one that tended to get people's approval and people liked the most.
Oh, yeah.
And then I tried to always stay in that. What you talk about separating yourself from your identity.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because then you fall into, well, now I need to do some meth or coke or ecstasy to stay up. I need to do this. I need to do whatever it takes to be able to perform so I can put my mask on to look like this person that people seem to be drawn to.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of also showing that there was this other side of me that was sensitive, that was kind-hearted, that was gentle, that was very, very loving. But I thought everybody wanted the performer or the athlete or the whatever. And so like I would give people what I thought they wanted from me at the sacrifice of my own self. And I got further and further away from myself. And then of course, mental illness and drugs and all that really separates it. But again, now all I want to be is me. And I don't have to switch gears, but I've worked hard to get to that place and it's not easy and it's lonely. I think we've talked about this privately. To
Mm-hmm.
really step into your identity, especially when your identity in itself will separate you from everyone else because you should be. You're uniquely made. You're uniquely made, so you should be on your own. You
Oh, yeah.
shouldn't try to blend in with everybody else. But society has made it where we need to be in a group. We got to have this, got to have that. So when you defy what the world wants from you, or what the world seems to accept or pat you on the back for, when you defy that to stand in your truth and your identity and be who you are, it's going to create further division. Therefore, you may remove yourself out of boxes, but it becomes very lonely and isolating. So then the new challenge gets to be, am I cool just being with me? And
Yeah.
then as you get to that place, then you start to notice the people that come in your life, and then you're able to go, is this in line with who I am? Should this person be there? Or is this person going to somehow pull me off of center and get me away from who I am, which happens in relationships all the time,
Yeah.
especially for us codependents.
100%. I mean, it's so funny. You and I, we live in different states, but we have similar experiences, which always shocks me. And, and I didn't even know this about you, but exactly, I've gone through the exact same thing where I have had to really, for me, it was about downplaying my bigness. I guess that's the best way I can explain it. I tried to be small.
Lowering yourself, making yourself
Yeah,
smaller. What you
yeah,
mean?
more palatable, more okay with other people. So I try not to be too bougie. I try not to be too loud. I try not to be too opinionated. I try not to be too outspoken. And now I am owning it all. I'm like, yeah, this is who I am. I don't care because I just can't pretend because I can't keep track of it all. I'm getting older and I just can't keep track of it all. So I don't want to be anything but me. I feel uncomfortable inside when I'm trying to pretend or perform. I'm immediately off put by people who are performing, so I can feel it. And I'm immediately off put by them, so I can't do it myself. And then I just realized that just like you said, I started to separate myself from a lot of people and they all went away. And that's fine because I think there's a clearing and then there's a vacuum and a void for a period of time. And during that void, which I just got out of about 6 months ago, I learned to be really comfortable with me to the point where if somebody really didn't fit my standard, I'd rather be by myself. That was a hard place for me because I'm an extrovert, but I got there. I got there and decided that that was fine. And then all of a sudden, it was like the world opened up. I moved to a different part of town. I started meeting more like-minded people. And now the right people are in my life and I don't have to shrink to accommodate them. I can be as big as I want.
Yeah.
And that feels good.
It should feel good. It should feel good, but it also has to probably feel a little bit, it's like when I don't know if did you ever dive off of a high dive before in the swimming pool?
I mean, I have, but it scares the
Okay.
shit out of me.
Okay. Have you progress. Like there's like, you kind of have to work your way into it a little bit. It takes a little bit of time to be able to have that courage and to be able to walk on it where you can just go up to the highest dive and go, I'm going to jump off this with no big deal. It takes practice standing in your identity and your real truth. It takes practice and it takes courage because it's really, really hard to hear another human being that's another piece of God, just like you. Mm-hmm. It's hard to have another human being shame you or put you down for who you are.
Right.
And it hurts. And it's really, really easy to go, well, I don't give a crap what anyone thinks. It takes time to get there. And then there's levels to that not giving a crap what other people think. In other words,
true.
Because I want you to hate me just as much as I want you to. I want it because I've learned how to harvest that energy.
Well, they self-select out of your, and then they self-select out of your life. So it almost makes it easier in a way after you get some armor, I think, around the feeling of it hurts. But yeah, I agree. It's not easy. I mean, the first many, many, many times it happens, you are very affected by it. You take it very personally. It makes you feel terrible about you. You literally go home and like, nobody likes me. Nobody loves me. I want to go eat worms. Literally, you feel like that.
Worms and boogers and all kinds of stuff.
Whatever. You go right into that childhood phase. Where
maybe even 24 donuts too.
Yeah. It's amazing. You just drop into this little child who just feels like nobody likes them. And then it starts to shift, and you go, okay, well, maybe that's not really true. And then I think what I did was I was like, who cares if anybody likes me? Do I actually like me?
Oh, that's a better question.
That's a better question. And that was the question that took a really long time to answer. I mean, do I really like me? If I wasn't successful, do I like me? If I wasn't, if I wasn't in a relationship, do I like me? If I didn't have any purpose, do I like me? Do I just like me for me without any other external qualifier? And then luckily I had a dog that just liked me for me. So that does help.
Something about animals, yeah.
I
Well,
was
it's
like,
always bad when your dogs don't, or your pets don't like you. That
oh,
like,
that would have been terrible. So at the end of the day, if
it's
I thought nobody else liked me, I at least had him, and he looks at me with those puppy dog eyes, and I was like, all right, I don't know, he loves me. It's not too bad. And plus, my kids love me too. So I had those three.
I mean, you're winning if your kids like you and your animals like you. Because
It's not so bad. So really, there were points where I literally had to say that to myself. I mean, I joke, but it was really something I was telling myself in those low moments that, okay, well, my kids like me. I must be doing something right, because a lot of kids can't stand their parents. They don't answer the phone when you call and all these things. And I said, all right, I must be doing something right. But then after some time, I think really I was able to answer that question of, do I really like me? And the answer was a resounding yes. That's when life feels really good.
it does. I have to not like myself a little bit because I have to tell myself I can always be better. I haven't broken out of that where it's good the way it is. Um, and I still have a very much it's not good enough mentality.
Hmm.
But I actually don't want. I'm not a. I don't. And I've had therapists try to tell me how this is wrong, and but I also can look at them and say, well, you misdiagnosed me for most of my life, so screw you. I don't really care what your opinion is, because I feel right about this. I don't want to believe that something's good enough right now at this state of my mind. Like I'm not there yet. Maybe that's unhealthy. Maybe that's still part of my wounded identity and my in that I could never hear good job from my dad, no matter what. Could win golf tournaments, dominate whatever sport I was playing, could make him a bunch of money.
Hmm.
Never heard, I'm proud of you, good job. And so like I still have that in the back of my head when I get close to someone and I
Hmm.
become a friend, or if it's romantic, or even if it's family, like I want to make them proud. And there's a part of me too is that I have so many years of destruction and wreckage that I've left. This trail, they called it Hurricane Josh, because I would just destroy everything in my path, and then generations of people after that. Like I was devastating to people. So in my mind, like I want there's a drive inside of me of that I want to prove that I'm going to be better and better and better, and I want to prove that I am the man that not because I admit that I'm not who I want to be yet. I'm working that. I'm dedicated to it. I'm relentless about it, but I will always believe I can be better. And
Hmm.
there's a part of that is I want to show the people who have been with me through this wild ride that I've taken them on that their faith in me, their belief in me, and their willingness to give me another chance is not wasted.
I can understand that. And again, when somebody's diagnosing you or telling you something's right or not right, or the way to be or not way to be, I mean, I think it really depends on your situation. I could say that I would feel the same exact way if I left behind a wreckage.
Mhm.
They make sense.
Fortunately, you did.
I mean, I did to some extent when I was younger, because I'm a Scorpio and I have a bad temper, or used to have a bad temper. It really takes a lot to get me upset these days. But I definitely would, blow up at people and have temper tantrums. I mean, this was a long time ago. I haven't been that way in a while. So I know what that feels like to some extent, because I would leave behind a wreckage and feel like I needed to really repair that. But I haven't done that in a very, very long time. And for me, it shifted because I've actually not been like that in so long. But what I have is a father that's very similar to yours, where I never got good job, one who literally villainizes me no matter what I do and what good I do in the world. I'm completely villainized because I don't have a penis. Because in my culture, if you're a man, you could do no wrong. And he literally talks about my brother like he's perfection, which he's, nobody's perfect. But then he vilifies me all the time. And recently he just vilified me to my son. And I said, no more.
Hey, I got a question because I don't know a whole lot about your culture except I've grown up around several people in my life that I've been friends with that are from India, or maybe they've come to America, or they're still in India, and so I'm not like an expert on the culture by any means.
Right.
But you, like, from my understanding, there's a massive shift happening right now in the Indian culture, correct?
Hmm.
Where the women are rising up, because I see it. I mean, most of the people I speak to, and I've been friends with mostly Indian men.
Hmm.
Now I've become friends with a lot of women from India, and they're all like boss entrepreneurs. They've got a hustle like nobody's business. And like they are forces to be reckoned with like I've never seen. And like, but my impression of the men, and I'm not trying to generalize, but all the doctors that I've worked with over the years from India, and like and or whether they were chemists or their attorneys or anyone I've ever been around that was male from India, had this jolly, like non-serious personality. I mean, they were very smart, but they were kind-hearted and goofy and didn't really seem to take anything that seriously about life. They were kind of go with the flow. But then I'd always heard about how militant they were towards women. I've never seen it. I've only had my experience with men. So to now see these boss lady women from India rising up, and I'm like, okay, like what's going on here? Can you explain? Can you talk about that? Like, how far off am I about the men? Because I don't know, and I'm curious about this.
Well, I don't really, so I'm going to be honest. I don't associate that with that many Indian men. Why? Because I dealt with my father. So I remember when they wanted me to marry an Indian man, and I was like, oh no, that's not happening. So I never really was around a lot of Indian people. People ask me, I've never even been to an Indian wedding. I don't have any Indian friends. I have no Indian friends.
You're like a white girl.
I'm like a white girl. I'm like a white girl. That's
I
not
have
what
more culture than you do. I'm just
well,
kidding.
but there were things I didn't like about my culture from day one. So I think I just removed myself from it. I came to America. I actually got along way better with anybody who wasn't Indian because they were just too traditional for me and the way I think. So I just really never had a lot of Indian friends. And I married a white guy. And then that was the end of that. And then after I got divorced, I thought to myself, maybe an Indian guy would be a good fit because we understand each other's culture, etc. I had never made it past a second date with an Indian guy. I think I went out with two or three, and it was the same thing every time. And just, I couldn't do it. So I was like, and I'm talking, I really went deep into it, meaning one guy I dated was, I think he'd come to America when he was 20. Okay. Then I thought maybe it's because he came to America when he was 20. So maybe if I was with a guy, maybe I date a guy that's been in America his whole life, like me. I did that too. Same problem. They have well, a couple of things. Their parents are extremely involved in their life. I don't want that. That's not something I want. Number one. Number two, they do have some, and I'm not generalizing. So let me stop here and just give myself a disclaimer. Not everybody's like this, but I'm just saying the experiences
From
I
your
had.
experience, you're only speaking from your experience.
I'm only speaking from my experience. This is what I experienced. And then they would just be very kind of aggressive in a way that American men aren't. Like there's good aggressive and there's bad aggressive. So I'm just going to qualify that. This is bad
I know
aggressive.
what you're talking about.
There's good aggressive and there's bad aggressive, and there's aggressive that's too soon and not the right context because they don't read the room right. They don't read the room. Whereas I've dated lots of different men, American, all kinds of different, cultures and whatnot. This is consistently something I've seen in Indian men, that they're not reading the room. They're not understanding what's happening. What they think is happening and what's really happening are two very different things.
That's fascinating. I so, and it's also interesting. that like who you've chosen to date and for your reasons. Like, that makes sense to me. And it seems like culturally, like white people, like there's this belief that whites should only date whites and black people should only date black. Like you should stick with your kind. And
Right.
I'm like, I'm over here. My grandson is half black and like the coolest freaking kid ever.
He
Like
is so cute.
I find mixed races to be beautiful. Like
Me too.
I'm not drawn to people that look like me. I or even act like me or like I love difference and diversity
Same.
and it's like I don't get it. I don't get the mindset of like our cultures need to stick together. Like, isn't life more fun when we're celebrating and enjoying the different parts of God's creation?
I
And humans from different parts of the world are part of that.
Yeah, and I would, of course, no culture, not all people in every culture are the same, but you will see similar traits. And I don't really think I even think like most Indians do. I don't feel like I don't know. It just doesn't work for me. And
What
I,
about an arranged marriage? Would you do an arranged marriage?
hell no. I
Like
told my
looking back at it, going back from day one, like before you got married, would you have ever done that?
No, so this is a funny story now that you bring that up. So my parents, I think I was close to 20, I was almost 20, and I was about to go off to college, and they said, oh, this is a good time for us to start looking for you for a nice Indian man. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I can't even stand Indian men. I like all the white guys. I don't know what to do. I was like, I didn't say anything much, but I didn't express any interest. And about a year later, I bring my husband, then to be husband, home, and I'm like, we're getting married. I was like, end of discussion. Because I am not doing this whole arranged marriage thing. So, no, I would never do that. And I told my parents this. I said, listen, I don't even trust you to pick out outfits for me. Okay. So, I'm not going to allow you to pick a husband.
Oh my gosh.
That's what I told them.
You know, what's
My poor
funny about
parents.
that is looking back at my relationship history and how awful it's been, with the exception of a few relationships. I probably would have done better if I would just let my mom arrange marriage for me. I mean, looking back at it, because she's never. Well, I don't want to. I don't care. She's never really thought that any of the people I've been with, maybe one person, was really the right person for me. And whether she's right or not, who's to say? But
Right.
the relationships failed. So right now she's proved correctly.
Right.
So like I probably would have done better that way.
Yeah, I wouldn't have. I promise you I wouldn't have. I mean, not that, listen, I was married for a while. It wasn't, it wasn't what I wanted, but I still think I chose better for myself than they could have. So, I
Well,
mean, they definitely couldn't have chosen for me. And, because what they want out of a relationship for me is just somebody who can take care of me. Well, that's not even been the case. I'm the one who's been our biggest earner. And so, and I'm not looking for somebody to take care of me. I'm looking for somebody who's an equal and somebody who's a partner. But that's not what they want because they're stuck in the old mindset of a woman can't make her own money. She needs a man, et cetera, et cetera. And it's not what I want.
well, you also don't want someone in your way, because you are ambitious, you have big goals, you have big dreams still. Like you're not done with your dreams. You're not done doing the things that you really want to do. You have even bigger goals that are beyond what you've already accomplished. So like someone wired that way, the only kind of partner they can have is someone that knows how to play a supportive role, knows how to stay out of the way, be there in time of when it's time to support, when it's hold the high, maybe if it needs a hug, maybe if it's a kick in the butt, whatever it is. But you need someone that's going to push you towards your dreams, not try to put you in a cage to say, no, I need you to make me dinner at 5 o'clock, woman. Make me some cookies after that. That's never going to work. I don't think that really should work for anybody.
No.
I don't even. Listen. I know. I totally get. Like one of the greatest blessings in the world is growing up, and when you come home from school, having your mom there, and she's got a snack for you, and she's doing the thing, and your mom's always home. That is a blessing to have. It really, really is. However, over time, I'm 47 years old now, and I think about all of the women I've met in my life, even the ones that played the housewife role.
Mm-hmm.
Every one of them put their own dreams on hold
Mm-hmm.
for family.
Mhm.
And maybe that's a religious reason, maybe that's because that's how they are raised to believe, but I know inherently every single one of those people, and it's a small sample size because there's 8 billion people in the world, but in my experience, anyone, male or female, that puts their dream on hold for someone else,
Mhm.
or we're going to elevate your dream first, that gets things out of whack and out of balance, and I don't believe it can ever work, and it always leaves somebody with the feeling of resentment
Yeah.
or whatever. But yeah, I don't see how that works, and I know that that goes against that family dynamic, the nuclear family structure, and all that we've been raised to believe is right. But I keep going back to this belief that the most important thing that we do is do what we're created to do.
Yeah.
And
I
you
agree.
will find a partner if you're doing that. And if you're in flow with what you're created to be, and you're in your identity and your purpose, living in your purpose is attached to your identity, because you can't live in your purpose unless if you know your identity. So if you're doing that, that's living in truth, and truth will attract your tribe. Therefore, you will attract the right partner for you that you can soar together. You can help each other heal and grow and push each other forward instead of playing the submissive role. You can both be. I mean, there's a time to be submissive and a
I
time not.
just was going to say the same thing.
But again, you can still, both of you together
Right.
can can match each other's energy and push yourself there. You can still play supportive roles in each other's lives while
Right.
supporting each other to do what we all individually are supposed to do, created to do.
100%. And I think what you said is so powerful because, and it really just ties back into identity. We have to know who we are first. Then we have to really know what our purpose is. And, there's no right or wrong purpose. There's just a true purpose that we have to know what that is. And
Yes.
then from that space, can you find the right partner? Because if you don't know those two things, you actually cannot attract a proper partnership. And then most people are in partnerships because, well, for all the wrong reasons. They don't want to be alone. They just, they need somebody for maybe emotional support or financial support, or they're just, there's so many wrong reasons to be in a relationship. And I've encountered in my own experience, like a lot of them, a lot of them. You probably have too. And now I feel like I'm in a place where I think there's only one right reason to be in a relationship. And is exactly what you said, where both parts of that relationship know who they are, know what their purpose is, and allow each other to grow and soar in each other's lives. And if it's not that, I think I got a dog.
I mean, again, I don't know what that does for the fate of humanity. I don't know if that way of thinking is what leads us closer to a transhumanist world, but where there's less kids and all that because people are not making multiple babies. But I don't know. I don't know what is necessarily really, really right or wrong in the bigger picture of things. But again, like if we all are, we know, each of us, we can only speak for ourselves and what that is, because maybe being a
Yeah,
housewife truly is what someone's role is meant to
absolutely.
be, and God bless, because you know what, that's the hardest job in the world.
It is a
I
hard
can't
job.
even imagine a more difficult job.
It is. It's
um,
very hard.
but I
And
don't know a single mom that gave up their ambitions to have a family that didn't in the back of their head regret it.
yeah, no, you're not wrong about that. Everybody I know has kind of had some regret about that. But maybe I want to clarify something I said. I think also there are different parts of your life and different phases. So meaning that, this is what I want right now, but would I have sacrificed a lot of these things to have at least had a guy that was a good father and a good partner for those years that I was raising my children? Yes, I would have, and I did. Maybe he wasn't like exactly what I wanted, but I made some compromises because I was like, well, this is a decent enough person for me to raise children with. And but then I think that was what I wanted at that point in my life. I was building my practice and all these things and raising my children. That was the phase of life. But then once that phase was over, I really wanted different things. So maybe the real question is, there, or maybe the real story should be that there could be different people that are suitable for you for different aspects of your life. Maybe we don't need to stick to the fantasy that there's one person for your whole life, because that's a lot.
I mean, I saw this couple that has been married since high school. They've been married for 80 something years. I saw it
Wow.
yesterday on social media and I thought, what have they been through?
Yeah.
Not only the era that they grew up in being minorities, but like what the storms that they weathered. And I was sitting there, I was envious of that
I,
because it's the ultimate dedication and commitment. It's the ultimate seeing it through. And like, my heart desires a true teammate. Like I don't, it's not the romance. Like romance to me is inspired through accomplishing goals, and romance is like we've shared an experience together. Therefore, romance is the fruit that came out of that experience.
Mhm.
But this romance before the substance part, I know how fleeting that is. It's might as well masturbate into a sock. It's like the equivalent to me. And it's just, it's a waste. But I, and I also know how fleeting it is. And it's like, or and another thing is it's kind of like doing a line of cocaine. It's so, but if there's, I think going for me anyway, finding the a teammate, a true partner and teammate, and it's not about romance. It's more about friendship and what we can do together, what we can accomplish, and our goals and our ambitions being aligned, so we can help push each other that direction. And when you share that commonality and that goal, think about how amazing that you talk about romance when you celebrate your victories, whether it's your victory or my victory or our victory together. Like that is the kind of romance that I want to be a part of, because the rose petals and all the romantic gestures and all those things, like I get how fun it is, but again, it's just it's a synthetic high in a way. It's not, it's fleeting. But
Mhm.
when you have something that's just kind of massaged and baked into your DNA, and I'm probably using the wrong example here, but when you're working together and you're growing together and you've invested time and you're doing all those things that you would do with a teammate or a
Mhm.
partner in business, but you're doing this, and then like the romance that can generate out of that, I believe creates the romance of a lifetime. And for me, that's what I seek. But that's me. And that's not for everybody. Somebody wants the fairy tale because they've watched too many Disney movies. God bless them.
Right.
But I think
Well,
some of that stuff has made people stupid.
I agree, because those Disney movies, that's not the truth. And I think a lot of women are conditioned to look for that. I know, because I was one of them and I wanted all those things, but I saw that they don't really last. So how I like to say that it is that this love is probably like a recipe. So there are some parts, some ingredients that are really, really important. And I think that what you're talking about with the, partnership and the shared,
Mhm.
creations are a big part of the recipe. And then the romance is also important, the flowers and all those things
Oh
and
yeah.
the date nights, but it's more like the seasonings, I would say. That's kind of how I feel it's not the main ingredient,
I
because
like that.
yeah,
That
I
makes
mean,
sense.
the seasoning is important, because if you just have, let's say you're baking a cake, so the flour and all that is the main ingredient. So what you're talking about, the partnership, the commitment to each other, the shared goals and all of those things. But then if you don't add the other flavors, it doesn't seem as robust. So you need that too.
Oh,
But
I agree
small
100%.
portion.
What motivates me to be that way, because here's the other thing. I am that person that would sing outside someone's door, they're outside their window, and I would play the little guitar, even though I don't know how to play, and I don't sing either very well. I mean, I get I am a romantic. I romanticize. I mean, I'm a visionary. I'm a dreamer. I'll romanticize the crap out of anything if you give me a chance to. Like I will.
It's
So
like,
like, but the inspired romance to like do those loving gestures and things like that. Like I don't like to do things just to do it. Like, oh, I'm gonna go buy you flowers just because that's the thing to do. No, there's a reason and a purpose, and there's depth behind why I do what I do. I
yeah.
want it to have an extra weight of meaning so that it doesn't come across superficial, because the way that I show love is not through gifts and things like that. It's acts of service, it's words of affirmation. So like for me, when I'm going to do those things, it's a true romantic gesture. Like it's broken me out of my normal comfort zone of how I like to show love, and now I'm like, all right, now I want to give you the seasoning, the sprinkles, the icing on the cake.
Yeah.
That's where that comes from. But I need to be truly inspired for that. But trust me, I love to be inspired for that. I just have got the order wrong my entire life. I've
Mhm.
always thought the romance first and lost the substance. And then the other problem with leading with romance first is that it makes sex the like the main thing in the relationship. And how many relationships have we been in that were just really great sex and there was no substance,
You're right.
but then you don't leave because the sex is great. And then then you've got some kind of toxic bullcrap, and next thing you know, you're having a baby with somebody you have no business having a baby with, and then all hell breaks loose. I mean, weird things happen because of our bad decisions, because of our lack of our knowing our identity.
Yeah. No, it's
Because
so
if we
true.
know our identity, if we truly know who we are,
Mhm.
we don't want to just be with anyone. Like
No,
our time and energy matters.
100%. And that is the really interesting yet unusual thing that starts to happen. The more and more you know yourself, you actually cannot be, I don't think, I mean, this is just my opinion, you cannot be with a lot of people. I mean, I need time to integrate, I need time alone. I just cannot be around too many people. And I'm very specific about who I spend time with. So the more I am in alignment with myself, that's what's been happening before I go out with anybody because it was a good time.
Oh yeah, yeah. I didn't protect my energy at all, and I ended up in a lot of really bad situations because of it.
Yeah.
Uh, but now I one of the things that I've started doing, because I recognize that I'm a light and people are going to be drawn to me, especially
Mhm.
with a lot of, I mean, this is what I love about this show is I get to talk about relationships, and I don't get to talk any of the other content I create has nothing to do with this subject matter. And this is my favorite thing to talk about. It is. I feel weird talking about it on my own. So it's like way more
Well, it is
getting
strange.
permission to do.
I like talking about it too, and I can't really talk about it on my own. This is where you need the polarity to be able to talk about it. You need a masculine and a feminine. And I think
Yeah.
both of us have an embodied masculine and feminine within us.
I very much am. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't apologize for it either, because I like being having interests that cross your traditional, gender boundaries or whatever. But I also grew up in a home, my mom was Mrs. America and modeled, and I grew up around, the skincare products everywhere. And like I had my own skincare line and got into making cosmetics, and I'm interested in all that stuff. It's interesting to me. I grew up around fashion shows and pageants and also, sports and other things. So like I like all of it. And that's allowed me to be very comfortable in both energies.
Yeah. And that's where I think a lot of us maybe are also hiding a portion of our, if we're women, we're maybe hiding a portion of our masculinity. If we're men, we may be hiding some of our femininity. We should embody all aspects of ourselves despite what society says. So I think that's what makes this work between the two of us, because I have definitely a well-developed masculine side to me and a feminine side, and you also. So I think this is how we can explore these topics so well.
Have you heard the belief system? And I don't know enough about it, and I've heard about it. I try not to stuff a lot of belief systems into my head. I find them interesting, but I don't want to apply all of it. But there was something I heard years ago that sounded really interesting to me, like the story of Adam and Eve, for instance, is essentially that we are all this is the belief system, that we're all born both. But as part of our punishment, again, there's multiple theories at this place in the story, but essentially the game of life, like we are, as the game that we are pulled into, is like we true the true selves is masculine and feminine.
Mhm.
But at the beginning we were split, like both energies were split, and the game of life is essentially doing all of the work necessary to bring the divine masculine and the divine feminine back together within ourselves. And that's how we truly discover who we are and our identity. And and again, I don't know, I know I probably butchered that belief system, but when I heard it, it was like the perfect timing because I noticed with my own self and how I was being and how I was seeing other people that I had closed that gap, so to speak, because that's around the same time I truly started seeing the divine God
Right.
in all creation, meaning people, meaning animals, meaning the trees and bugs. Like I quit stepping on bugs. I quit, killing flies. I
Mm,
know that sounds insane, but I'm like, I'm trying to be hyper aware and sensitive to what God has created and try to appreciate it the most that I can. And what that has allowed me to do is to love people where they're at
mhm.
without conditions, without putting a cage over them. And like there's some people I want to put in a cage and go, you're all mine. Like I just like your energy so much, I don't want to share it with anyone. But that's not love.
No,
And
no,
that's also preventing them from doing what they are created to do. And
right.
so, but that for me was like that moment of realization shifted my whole worldview on everything. And I have been a better person for it since. I have grown more since coming into that than I ever have. And I think it's because it just means I've been able to walk in my true identity for longer than I ever have, if ever.
Yeah, I love that. I think I'm glad you brought that up because I've read stuff like that too. Maybe not with reference to Adam and Eve, so to speak, but that our whole job in life is to incorporate our masculine and our feminine. And I think often because of our wounds, we may be more one way than another way. So for me, I was overperforming in my masculine, even though I'm a woman. So what took me a long time was to figure out how to really be in my feminine, to allow receiving and be more flowing, and that's what my work has been. I mean, there are other women probably have to work on their masculine, but I have the other problem. So it's taken me a very long time, and they say that once you have integrated your own inner masculine and inner feminine, which is what I've read or saw somewhere, that typically it makes it easier for you to actually attract a aligned partner.
I've just noticed from the people that show up in my life now,
Mm-hmm.
it's very much that. But the other thing that I've started to do, because I've noticed how certain relationships and the people that you allow in your life, they really can shift your and alter your path if we're not careful.
Mm-hmm.
So I really work hard, and when I have new people in my life that show up, and there's always people that show up, they just
Mm-hmm.
don't stay around. But I pray, like, listen, like, okay, God, like, if this person's not for me, like, even if like what I'm going to experience with them is bad, I'm okay with it as long as it's part of my purpose, as long as it's in line with the direction I'm supposed to go. Like, is this going to teach me a lesson I need to know?
Right.
Whatever. But remove everyone else, remove everything else. And it's funny, of all the prayers I think I've ever prayed in my life that get answered, like none of them seem to get answered immediately, except for the one about removing people. Like when I surrender, whatever no longer serves me, I surrender it. It's gone. It's gone. It stays gone. So that means people, whatever. So if the people are still around, I'm like, oh, this is good. This is good. Like this, I'm gonna get to do I'm gonna do a little bit of a journey with this person. And then once I learned that lesson, because like I realized that I was having a 1 month journey and a 2 week journey and a 2 month journey and a 4 month journey, and I'm like going, well, this is exhausting. But I look back at it and go, well, they all had lessons, and then they left when that lesson was over. And so now I've learned just to accept the fact this is teaching me how to be in the moment, to be present. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to enjoy my time with you right now in this moment. But I also know that you could disappear tomorrow and I'll never talk to you again. And I get to be okay with that. That's the next evolution of my healing that I'm dealing with right now.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also secretly kind of excited because I've actually had some people stick around for the first time a little bit longer than normal. And I'm like, you know what? I really enjoy this and I'm
Well,
grateful.
probably you're getting further along in the healing journey, so they're sticking around a lot longer. I've noticed the same kind of trajectory as well. I mean, and I tell you, our conversations, they go by fast, you know? It's like we get it so deep, and I always just love these conversations. So, just wanted to kind of wrap up maybe some key points that we have. I would say that, one of the things that come up for me are that you and I are on very similar trajectories and have some very similar life experience. I would say that identity is crucial in living the life that you really want and attracting the people in life that you really want. And did I miss anything that was super important? And then we also talked about integrating the feminine and the masculine within ourselves and within our identity. Those are like, I think, the three big things that I took away from this conversation.
A lot of people don't, when they hear divine masculine, divine feminine, they think it has something to do with sexuality. Get your
Mm,
head out of the gutter. There's plenty of things to have your head in the gutter about, but it has nothing to do with that. I
yeah,
didn't know that at first either.
right.
And like that first realization, like for if you were listening to this audience and
Hmm.
you immediately thought sexuality when we talked about divine masculine and divine feminine, it's time to do some research
Yeah,
because it's not that at all. And the sooner that you learn that, in my opinion, you're going to be a much happier person and you're going to start caring a lot less about what other people do and care more about what you do.
totally, totally. Well, thank you, Josh. It's always a pleasure for everybody out there. I'm grateful to have Josh as my co-host on this show here. Check his website out. He does a lot of amazing things other than just talk about relationships with me. Check out his other
This
stuff.
is my favorite thing to talk about.
I know, but he does a lot of other things. So check out his website. It's pretty awesome. And then for those of you who are following me, please follow me on YouTube, subscribe. We have Gloves Off. We have Gloves Off After Dark and Unbound and Uncensored. It'll probably be at the early part of next year because sometimes I bite off a little more than I can chew, but that's just what I do. That's just how I operate,
Overachiever.
right? Yeah, I'm an overachiever. I just think it's going to all happen faster, and it happens when it happens. So I've really begun to be okay with that. But
Mm.
anyway, everyone, we do this once a month. Typically, it's the last Sunday of every month, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. So definitely join us in December for another episode of Gloves Off After Dark. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.